Nobody quite knows which drink it is that takes him over the edge of being merely a social or hearty, laughing drinker into a morose and hungover, wretched creature.
Native Americans have long created a Hollywood dynasty that could last for centuries, but many of them battled personal demons behind the scenes. Here are 10 of the worst Native American alcoholics in Hollywood history.
I have to act. I just have to work. I have to do something. I go nuts if I...
Number 10. Greene. Graham Greene had it all: a comfortable childhood, a loving wife, literary fame, and achieved both literary fame and critical praise. But what truly set him apart was the breadth of history he experienced firsthand. Greene bore witness to many of the 20th century's most pivotal moments: the Vietnam War, the Six-Day War, the betrayal of Kim Philby, whom he worked alongside during his MI6 years in World War II, and the wave of guerrilla movements that swept through Central America. Many Golden Age stalwarts struggled to evolve with the times, but Greene had no problem. He wrote more than 20 novels, including The Power and the Glory, Our Man in Havana, The End of the Affair, and The Quiet American. His talent earned him 2 nominations for the Nobel Prize in Literature, and many of his works were successfully adapted into acclaimed films, solidifying his reputation as a versatile storyteller. However, if there was anything that could match Graham Greene's extraordinary talent for the arts, it was his unshakable relationship with alcohol. Struggling with sadness and boredom, Greene was a ferocious drinker and was addicted to danger and adventure as well as to beautiful women, who almost always returned the favor. He also relied on other substances to self-medicate, including marijuana, opium, and a ritual of benzodrine to get active in the day and Nembutal at night to fall asleep. But it meant his life was always hitting some crisis, no matter how wealthy, successful, and well-connected he was. Greene grew up in a conventional middle-class household as one of 6 siblings. He attended Berkhamsted School, where his father served as headmaster, but it only made him a target for bullying by boys who believed he was feeding their secrets to his father. With a family history of struggling mental health, Greene was troubled from a young age and had all kinds of dark thoughts even as a teenager. At just 16, he attempted to end his life by taking a handful of aspirin and consuming deadly nightshade from the Berkhamsted Common. This alarming episode prompted his mother to seek help from a London psychoanalyst and spiritualist. Did I forget to mention that Greene also had symptoms of bipolar disorder? In his memoir, Greene claimed that he used to play Russian roulette by loading a pistol's 6-bullet chamber randomly with a single charge and then holding the gun to his temple, not knowing if he would die or be spared when he pulled the trigger. And guess what? Greene wasn't even trying to end his life. He was only playing the high-risk game to relieve the terrible boredom stemming from a bipolar disorder that would afflict him all of his life. Willing to do almost anything to relieve his boredom, Greene traveled extensively to troubled areas throughout Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. Fun to him meant working with England's Secret Intelligence Service and sometimes working as a journalist. He also traveled to places like Vietnam, Haiti, Liberia, and Nicaragua to investigate human rights abuses as well as the effects of poverty and disease. Don't take this to mean these trips were all good, though. He heavily consumed opium in Malaya and Vietnam and never failed to consume booze at every chance. Though his moods were extreme and swung wildly, one moment he could be melancholic, the next playful, Greene's gift as a storyteller never wavered. He had an unparalleled ability to craft intricate plots and bring to life characters that would resonate across generations. A Jesuit priest once observed that Greene's true gift lay in illustrating how genuine holiness could exist alongside profound flaws: greed, cowardice, lust, hatred, and even disbelief. I don't know about you, but it's a fitting portrayal of the deeply human, conflicted protagonist. Graham Greene, a ferocious Hollywood drinker, but certainly not the only one. Not even by a close margin. Number 9. Ira Hayes. Less renowned for his brief stint in Hollywood, you may know him as one of the 6 U.S. Marines who hoisted the flag at Iwo Jima. A bronze statue of he and his fellow Marines stands in Washington, D.C. as a monument to the Marines' heroism during that defining battle. His name is Ira Hamilton Hayes, a Pima war hero, but he was left all alone to fight a different battle after the war, one in mind, not on the field. Contrary to popular belief, Ira Hayes was more of a binge drinker than an alcoholic. He'd stroll into a bar on weekdays, and patrons would immediately start buying him drinks. Unfortunately, the stereotype of Native Americans and alcohol became a staple of his life. Over the course of 10 years, Hayes was arrested at least 50 times, with Arizona police keeping an eye out for him. Each arrest made headlines, with the added weight of his status as a war hero drawing attention to his troubles. Why exactly was Ira Hayes such a notorious drinker? Recent data shows that 23% of military service members are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and Hayes was sadly one of them. From survivor's guilt to the trauma of witnessing death and seeing bodies, along with the sheer devastation caused by warfare, so many things could have affected Hayes' psyche. Reflecting on his struggles, Ira Hayes once said that he felt like he was about to crack up because of the trauma he experienced during the war. He mourned the loss of his comrades, who he felt were better men than him, and grappled with his return to fame and life after war. Worst of all, Hayes didn't know how to cope with these emotions, as mental health issues weren't openly discussed at the time. In fact, PTSD wasn't officially recognized as a mental health condition by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs until 1980, about 25 years after Hayes passed away. On the morning of January 24, 1955, Ira Hayes was found dead near an abandoned adobe hut in Sacatone, Arizona. He had been drinking and playing cards with his brothers and friends on the reservation. But here's where things get crazy. After an altercation with a Pima Indian named Henry Satoyant, everyone left the scene except the two of them. This made Hayes' brother and a Korean War veteran, Kenneth, believe the death resulted from the fight with Satoyant. The reservation police didn't investigate, Satoyant denied any involvement in the altercation, and no autopsy was conducted. That being said, the Pima County coroner concluded that Hayes' death was due to exposure and alcohol poisoning. So before jumping to conclusions, it's worth considering this official ruling. As far as legacies go, Hayes will never be forgotten. Hayes' difficulties and the complexities of his post-war life were deeply explored by author William Bradford Hugh in The Outsider, where his death is depicted dramatically. He is shown drunk, freezing on a mountaintop, unable to descend. He falls asleep and dies from the cold, his arm and hand reaching upward, reminiscent of the iconic moment when he raised the flag on Mount Suribachi. The song, The Ballad of Ira Hayes, also chronicles his life.
You cannot learn by forgetting.
Well, what would you have me do? I mean, they're just children, for God's sake.
Children have fought wars. They've built nations.
Number 8. Will Sampson. Will Sampson was a man of many talents: acting, rodeo performing, artistry, and activism. But his greatest gift to the industry and his people was his own existence. For years, many Native American roles in film were portrayed by non-native actors who neither spoke native languages nor cared about cultural authenticity. Sampson broke that mold, bringing genuine cultural awareness and depth to his roles. His film debut as Chief Romden, the silent and seemingly catatonic mental patient in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, marked a turning point in Hollywood's portrayal of Native Americans. Prior to that, Native characters were typically cast in subservient or negative roles, often as illiterate sidekicks or minor characters. The bigger shots were reserved for actors of other ethnic backgrounds, but Sampson changed the status quo by offering a more dignified and complex depiction of Native Americans on screen. The film's success brought him other memorable roles, including 10 Bears in The Outlaw Josie Wales and The White Buffalo. He also appeared in Poltergeist 2 and Orca, and had a recurring role as Harlan Two-Leaf on the TV series Vegas. But for all his success as an actor and a prominent voice for Native American representation, Will Sampson was a visual artist at heart. One of his prominent paintings, depicting the ribbon dance of the Muskogee, is housed at the Creek Council House Museum in Okmulgee, Oklahoma, while other works, such as the Buffalo Kill from the Escape of the Winged Mine series, have been displayed at the Gilcrease and Philbrook museums and sold at auction houses and galleries like Pearson Gallery. Despite his remarkable talents and activism, Will Sampson struggled with a chronic desire for alcohol. He enjoyed drinking and socializing, but the weight of the former eventually took a toll on him. On top of this, Sampson battled scleroderma, a condition that progressively degenerated his heart, lungs, and skin. As his illness progressed, Will Sampson's weight dropped dramatically from 260 pounds to just 140 pounds, leading to severe malnutrition-related complications. He underwent a heart and lung transplant at Houston Methodist Hospital in Houston, Texas, but died soon after on the 3rd of June, 1987. The cause of death was post-operative kidney failure, and he was only 53 years old. Coming next is a name Gen Z viewers know all about. Number 7. Jason Momoa. It must be fun to live in the world of Jason Momoa. Fame, affluence, and very easy on the eye to the ladies. However, there's more to him than even his fans know. Much more. He dominates the screen in blockbuster action films, but he's just as comfortable showing his humorous side in quirky TV commercials. Off-screen, he channels his passion for music as the bass guitarist for the rock band Oof Tatata, but he gets nervous every time he performs. Don't be fooled by his witty shyness, though. You can never outdrink Jason Momoa whenever he's in party mode. At 6 feet and 4 inches, the burly actor is just as imposing as his Aquaman and Fast X counterparts. Scratch that. He's even more imposing in real life. Any favorite drink? He's very passionate about vodka and never fails to wax lyrical about it, but he said he's been a beer guy most of his life. Unsurprisingly, he and his business partner, Blaine Halverson, created a spirit he wants to drink any time of the day, Meili Vodka, a premium spirit crafted for sipping neat. Since its launch, Meili's unique flavor profile has garnered positive attention, including a trio of gold awards in the Vodka Masters. But hey, he's only human. Momoa, just like every heavy alcohol lover, has had his fair share of drunken tales over the years. The most infamous one? A seasoned report from Variety alleging unprofessional behavior by Jason Momoa during the filming of the Aquaman sequel. The revelations come from documents linked to the high-profile legal battle between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Notes from Heard's therapist, Dr. Don Hughes, claimed that Momoa appeared intoxicated on set, often arrived late, and even dressed in a manner resembling Depp, complete with rings. The notes also claim Momoa expressed a desire to have her removed from her role as Mira, further fueling tensions on set. Though Momoa never publicly denied the veracity of the documents, we're sure nothing's going to come between his love for alcohol, especially vodka and beer, the latter of which is only matched by our next figure. Number 6. Link Wray. Surprised to see him here? Well, you shouldn't be. Born on the 2nd of May, 1929, to Fred Lincoln Wray Sr. and Lillian May, Link has Shawnee roots. Growing up in mud huts without basic amenities like electricity or heating, his upbringing was marked by extreme poverty and systemic prejudice. He attended school barefoot, wore tattered clothing, and his family faced harsh discrimination, sometimes even hiding from the Ku Klux Klan. The scary part? Wray had nowhere to run to. He lived in fear for most of his childhood, noting that figures of authority like the police, sheriffs, and local business owners were often Klan members. He even claimed these men would don their masks and mete out brutal punishment, including tying people to trees for beatings or worse. This forced his family to identify as white on census records as a survival strategy in a deeply segregated society. Looking back, though, it's amazing how Link became a rock legend. Remember his 1958 instrumental single, Rumble? Of course you do. It was a true classic and reached the top 20 in the United States and was one of the earliest rock songs in rock music to utilize distortion and tremolo. What's more, he revolutionized rock music by inventing the power chord, a technique that became a cornerstone for countless genres. His instrumental track Rumble, along with his subsequent recordings from the early 1960s, set the foundation for heavy metal, thrash, and the rise of punk and heavy rock. Don't get us started on how he influenced a wide range of artists. Jimmy Page once described Wray as the embodiment of a real rebel attitude and credited him as a foundational influence on his early musical journey. Even icons like Iggy Pop and Neil Young have acknowledged Wray's mark on their work, solidifying his legacy as a trailblazer whose influence spans generations. It's only sad that heroes can't live forever. Wray died of heart failure in 2005 at his Copenhagen home. He was aged 76. Gone but never forgotten, Link Wray's contributions to music earned him a spot among the elite. Rolling Stone ranked him at number 45 on its list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time, and he received 2 nominations for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before finally being inducted in 1923 under the Musical Influence category. Number 5. Sacheen Littlefeather. Best known for the stir she caused at the 1973 Academy Awards when she gracefully rejected Marlon Brando's Best Actor Oscar for The Godfather on his behalf, Sacheen Littlefeather is easily one of the most infamous names on our list, for a myriad of reasons, which you'll soon find out. Following the ruckus she caused at the Oscars, Sacheen's TV and movie career floundered, but her work as an activist took off. She used her platform to speak for Native Americans and their rights while sharing her coming-of-age story. You might want to grab a tissue for this one, though. Painting a turbulent childhood marked by her father's alcoholism and violent temper, Littlefeather exposed many of the traumatic experiences she endured as a child. The worst of it was when he forced a little Littlefeather to watch him beat her mother as though it were an afternoon bargain matinee. It killed her soul, and not only because she loved her mom, but because she knew that she was next. Her white grandparents took her in before she turned a teenager, but even that exposed her to another problem: racism. One of the worst incidents came during a car trip to the South with her white mother. A white officer stood guard with a billy club near a restroom, eyeing her as she noticed the separate bathrooms for whites and blacks. Littlefeather was so rattled that she had to choose the black bathroom for her safety, despite the fact her own mother entered the white one. This was her first racial experience, and it left her devastated. Only then did she realize how overt and alive racism truly was. As far as personal life goes, Sacheen Littlefeather studied theater on a full scholarship at the American Conservatory Theater and appeared in several TV shows, commercials, and radio programs. She even posed for Playboy and later starred in The Godfather. However, she became most famous for refusing Marlon Brando's Oscar in 1973 as a protest to raise awareness of Native American oppression. She was effectively blacklisted from Hollywood and faced criticism for not being Indian enough. In search of a purpose, Littlefeather went back to college and got a degree in holistic health and nutrition. She also enjoyed going into hospitals to educate doctors and staff about Native American Indians going to hospitals to pray and treat patients. Yet, she too needed saving. No one knew how hard she battled against several health issues and rumored alcoholism. She eventually died after a years-long battle with breast cancer that had metastasized. Remember when I told you Littlefeather is one of the most infamous names on this list?
Hello, my name is Sacheen Littlefeather. I'm Apache, and I'm president of the National Native American Affirmative.
Well, it turns out that the actor-cum-activist did, in fact, not tell the truth that night. Her own biological sisters, Rosalind Cruz and Trudy Orlandi, claimed she wasn't even Native at all. They identified as Spanish on their father's side and insisted their family had no claims to a tribal identity. What's crazy is the fact that they might actually be right. White Mountain Apache tribal officials reported that they found no record of Sacheen Littlefeather or her family members, living or deceased, being enrolled in the White Mountain Apache tribe. Shocking, isn't it? Number 4. Rodney A. Grant. Say what you will about Rodney Arnold Grant, but he is one of the true quintessential pieces in Native American Hollywood history. Best known for his role as Wind in His Hair from the 1990 film Dances with Wolves, Rodney A. Grant has heard it all before. He's heard the claims that there are no Native American actors, that mainstream audiences won't connect with stories about Native American life, and that only big white stars in makeup can portray Native characters. Did he care about the naysayers, though? Of course not. Rodney Grant is tougher than nails, and he didn't let anything cast doubts on his dreams, including the fact that he was abandoned by his own biological parents. He decided to pursue acting in the late 1980s after watching a western called Eagle's Wing, where Sam Waterston played an Indian character. Grant, then working as a meat packer in Macy, Nebraska, loved the film but was struck by the absurdity of the casting. It blew his mind how Waterston was riding in the tattered breechcloth. Determined to change the narrative of his culture, Rodney Grant's acting career began with a small role in 1988's War Party. His second role was performing a fall-off-your-horse stunt in 1989's Powwow Highway. Then the roles dried up until Dances with Wolves came along. Directed by and starring Kevin Costner, the blockbuster film earned $80 million in its first 10 weeks in theaters And just like that, the naysayers were permanently silenced. That said, Mr. Grant wouldn't be on this list if he weren't a heavy drinker. One of the biggest issues he faced growing up on an Omaha Indian reservation in northeastern Nebraska was alcoholism. He drank heavily as a teenager and, at 20, broke into a liquor store, leading to a 2-day stint in a Nebraska jail. Thankfully, though, Grant was able to get his life on track through counseling. Before his death in June 2000, Grant was a speaker to Indian groups about alcohol and drug abuse. He warned that the fast life was fun, but a total wrecker. Having fun so far in today's video? Why don't you hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notifications to stay abreast of other amazing videos on the channel. You can't afford to miss out on the awesome content we've lined up for you. Number 3. Chief Thundercloud, Victor Daniels. Easily the most memorable of the iconic American Indians who populated the Western serials of the Sound era, Chief Thundercloud was a top-bill actor. His commanding screen presence made him a versatile performer, allowing him to portray both villainous and heroic Indian characters with striking authority. Search high and low, but you'll never find a Native American who had the gift of captivating audiences with minimal dialogue. His repertoire included a powerful build, a soft yet forceful voice, a distinctive accent, and a commanding presence. His stern glare and wily smile were the stuff of legend, especially as they combined a sharp ferocity and a mysterious aura. This made his sinister roles feel more evil, while making his noble characters appear subtly dangerous. But enough of the lyrical, let's talk about his coming-of-age story. Raised on a ranch in Arizona, Chief Thundercloud claimed to have been educated at the University of Arizona in Tucson. Before rising to fame, Daniels held various jobs, including working as a cowboy on cattle ranches, a miner, a rodeo performer, and a tour guide. Eventually, he headed to Hollywood to pursue acting. He started off as a stuntman before later moving up to becoming a character actor. Would you believe the title Chief was a stage name created by Hollywood? He landed the title role in Geronimo and portrayed Tonto in the Republic Lone Ranger serials, The Lone Ranger and The Lone Ranger Rides Again, all in the late 1930s. Throughout the following decade, Daniels continued to embrace his Chief Thundercloud persona, starring in antagonistic figures opposing the white protagonist. Remember Young Buffalo Bill, where Acuna, a renegade Native American chief involved in murder while serving as a hired hand, was played? He followed that up with Renegade Girl, where Daniels took on the role of Chief White Cloud, a vengeful antagonist with a personal vendetta against the protagonist's family. We can go on and on about the stalwart figure, but we wouldn't dare forfeit his dance with the law. He pled guilty to violating the Corporate Security Act in 1951 and was fined $200 and sentenced to 4 years of probation. He was also ordered to make restitution of $5,625 to the victims who had purchased shares in films from him without the necessary permit. There isn't any solid evidence to explain why he had struggles with alcohol consumption, but we can't help feeling it was a sign of the times. The 1930s and 1940s in Hollywood typecast Native American actors, which led to limited roles and financial instability. So yeah, systematic marginalization combined with personal hardships may have contributed to personal struggles and potential issues with alcohol. But hey, it's all a mystery. Victor Daniels eventually died at age 56 following surgery for stomach cancer on the 1st of December, 1955. He was survived by his wife Frances and his 2 sons, Victor Jr. Daniels and Norman Daniels.
Jericho was bought by the great Mochi's Ladders.
The great wagon train destroyed. The wagons and horses taken. Born for the...
Number 2. J. Silverheels. Born Harold J. Smith in Canada, on the Six Nations of the Grand River Reserve, Silverheels was a grandson of Mohawk Chief A.G. Smith and Mary Wedge, and one of the 11 children of Captain Alexander George Edwin Smith, a man who bled and got decorated for service at the battles of Somme and Ypres during World War I. But hey, you know what they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Taking his father's athletic genes, Silverheels excelled in sports before leaving home to travel around North America. While playing in Los Angeles on a touring box lacrosse team in 1937, Silverheels impressed Joe E. Brown, who then encouraged him to do a screen test. Silverheels agreed and began working in motion pictures as an extra and stuntman. He was billed variously as Harold Smith and Harry Smith and appeared in low-budget features, westerns, and serials before getting notable roles in films like Key Largo with Humphrey Bogart and Lust for Gold with Glenn Ford. Yet his biggest fame came as Tonto on the Lone Ranger TV series from 1949 to 1957. He was so good that he had to appear in the sequels, The Lone Ranger in 1956 and The Lone Ranger and the Lost City of Gold 2 years after. After the Lone Ranger series ended, Silverheels got typecast in Native American roles, but the years of his alcoholism finally caught up to him. A stroke in March 1980. Cirrhosis of the liver, a late-stage scarring of the organ often caused by long-term alcohol abuse, was widely reported as the cause. He died aged 67. Reports vary as to why Silverheels became a notorious drinker, but it's widely believed that the pressures of fame and the challenges of navigating a racially charged industry were the major culprits. Many actors in Hollywood's golden age turned to self-medication or alcohol dependence, and Silverheels was no exception. Only one man could topple the ferocious drinker on our list today, and his name is... Number 1. Wes Studi. Come on guys, you didn't think we were going to leave the legendary Cherokee Nation actor and film producer out of the show, did you? Famous for being the first Native American as well as the first indigenous person from North America to be honored by the Academy, Studi is inarguably the most accomplished actor on our list, but he's also the worst drinker of the bunch. After completing his studies, Wes Studi taught the Cherokee language and syllabary and co-founded a Cherokee language newspaper. He later pursued ranching and fathered 2 children, Leah and Daniel, from his first marriage. Following his divorce, which many ponder why, Studi transitioned into acting after being encouraged by a friend who suggested it as a way to meet women. Can you imagine that? Actors dream of being a Hollywood star to gain fame, accolades, glory, or make a name for themselves. Yet Studi agreed to be a Hollywood star just to have fun. Studi has long remarried and now lives on a farm near Santa Fe, New Mexico. Curious about any infamous wild drinking escapades? Where do we even start from? Wes Studi has had several legal troubles, including a series of driving under the influence. This was back in 2013 when he was arrested on a charge of aggravated DWI after drinking at a downtown Santa Fe bar. He was found with a car and 2 damaged tires in the middle of Old Pecos Trail near East San Mateo Road. Police records and video evidence proved that Studi was hostile to the officer, made a racial remark, and refused to either take a field sobriety or breath alcohol test. Despite the officer noticing Studi's slurred speech, strong odor of alcohol on his breath, and unsteady balance, the actor initially denied driving. However, he soon admitted to the officer that he had been driving under the influence. Studi apologized to everyone following his arrest and has since been more, reasonable off the screen. Be sure to like and subscribe for more explorations into the lives behind the screen, and tell us in the comments which of these names surprised you the most. Don't forget to check out the video currently playing on your screen for more Untold Hollywood Tales.